Welcome back to another episode of Parenting Shrink Wrapped. Sam here with Melissa, and our special guest today is Maria Winters, and you are in for a treat because Maria is nothing but funny. She has a huge heart, but she finds the absurd in life and points it out, and we all live in the same space, and she just makes you feel like she's been there before. Whatever mess you've got going on, she can identify and make it funny. And she's an incredible helper. Maria she's a licensed clinical professional counselor, and she's passionate about helping others prioritize their emotional wellness. She lives in Maryland, and she's got over 20 years experience supporting adults and teens. She's, in addition to being a licensed clinical counselor, she's a trained life coach, a published author, a podcast host. I'm going to shout out Wellness Rebranded here. Maria will talk more about that. And she is the creator of a pretty amazing program called the Emotional Fitness Studio in Annapolis, Maryland, where she brings presenters together to share wellness promoting events free to the public. And her business is called The Coaching Therapist. And through The Coaching Therapist LLC, Maria's mission is to share practical tools through workshops and training. So she brings obviously a vast, set of experiences to the table. And we are here to talk to her today about her personal experience because she grew up in Venezuela. She's bilingual in English and Spanish, and we're going to talk today about raising bicultural children. So tune in. It's a great topic, but she's a great guest. Maria Winters, welcome to Parenting Shrink Wrapped.
Oh, ladies, thank you. Those are setting up high expectations. What if I'm not funny at all in this episode? Then it's like, what? Like,
then you could just say something in Spanish that Sam and I wouldn't necessarily understand, and we'll think it's funny, and you're fine.
Yeah, or you can make jokes about us, and we won't know. So
there you go. All right,
Maria. For our listeners, tell. I mean, I gave a little bit of your professional bio, but tell a little bit about how you came from Venezuela to the U.S. Just like give us the story of you, and feel free to weave your professional threads through that story if you choose.
Oh, we don't need to add anything else professional. I'll talk to you about. Yes, I was born and raised in Caracas, Venezuela, and I came here in the year 2000 because, according to me, I wanted to come learn English. I mean, I knew a little bit, but not as much. And finish my bachelor's degree here. They had like these programs that you could come as a transfer student. So I did that, always with the thought that I was gonna finish my bachelor's degree in a year and a half because I came with already going through university there. So I came here, finished that, and thinking.
Wait, you didn't speak fluent English, and you're like, I'm just gonna move to a country where I don't speak the language fluently, and I'm going to finish college. No problem.
So I thought I did until I came here. Right? In my head, I could do that. So I came, I remember it was October of 2000, and I did maybe like 3 months of intensive English classes. This is in Boston, Massachusetts, right?
That's where I grew up.
Even frozen, Maria.
Oh, it was a bad decision. If you come from a tropical country and want to come to the US, I give you many other options that are not Boston in terms of weather. Like, don't do it, right? And I lived with a family for those 3 months, with an English-speaking family. So I exposed myself to as much English as possible. But then I moved on my own, started college. And funny you say that, because I remember one time it was like personality class. We took a test, and when the professor came back with the test, he said, there was a question that only one person answered something that I was like, what is this person talking about? Who was that person? Me. Okay. I didn't understand the question, so I just answered whatever. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's English as a second language, buddy. I had no clue what you were asking. Anyway. So then I stayed.
That's bold, by the way. I just that's
some guts.
Yeah. Sorry.
Hey,
I didn't mean to take us down a rabbit hole.
Better than leaving it blank. Don't leave a question blank. Just answer whatever. And maybe you get a little bit of points there. I don't know.
Okay, so you came from Venezuela to finish college in a year and a half, and the joke was on you.
Right. Because then I was like, since I'm here, what if I get a master's degree? So I did that. Then after the master's degree, I'm like, I'm here. What if I find a job and see how it is to work in the United States? So I did that. And then the rest is history. I got married, I had kids, and yeah, it's gonna be this October is gonna be 25 years that I'm here. So
Wow.
yeah, never went back. Not yet.
Is all of your family still in Venezuela?
So my two brothers are, and my mom now lives in Spain.
Ooh.
So yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
and your husband is American.
As an apple pie.
So how did that meeting go, Maria? Because I personally haven't been to Venezuela, but
Mhm.
I'm sure culturally things couldn't be more different.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit more about that before we
So
get into the kid portion.
there are differences. Of course, we can't generalize. Not all Venezuelans are going to be like me, and not all Americans are going to be like my husband. So I'll talk about our cultural differences. And one could probably be how loud I am and how quiet he is. And that's one difference I can think of.
Do you think that
Um,
that's cultural or personality or both?
both. I
Mhm.
think it's both. Another difference that could also be both is that if I come into a room filled with people, I'm talking to everyone and I'm also loud and I'm also joking around, and he's, more quiet, observing that, so there are differences in that. Um, but if it's regards of cultural, I mean, there's so many subtle ones, like, tasting music, or of course the tasting food. Um, the difference in families, like one big difference that I noticed when we started dating, his family is very quiet. If they're having a conversation around the table, they wait for their turns to talk what they want to say. When it's my family, it does not look like that whatsoever. And I remember that was something that for my husband, who went to Venezuela with me about 5 times before things got really bad politically, and then we never went back. It was like, how do you guys even understand each other if you're talking on top of each other and interrupting? So three conversations can happen on the table at the same time, and we're aware of all three. Like, no problem, right? And then we yell at each other, and we get mad about something, and 2 seconds later we're acting like nothing happened. And he's like, this is too much, all the emotions, talking on top of each other, like, what? So that's a difference.
So,
Go ahead, Maria.
Maria, how did that end up then? You guys go on to get married and have kids, and then they're growing up in this amazing environment with two different cultures, two different personalitied parents. And it's probably good that both of you aren't like loud and outgoing, because it probably wouldn't have worked otherwise. But like, what has that looked like now as in your kids?
Mhm.
Because they've probably picked up pieces from both of you, which is probably this awesome, amazing mix, is my impression.
It's been a journey. I think what we have now is not what we had years ago, right? As they grow older, they probably start giving value to it, right? I think something that I appreciate from for this bicultural raising our kids is how my kids have learned flexibility and empathy. I think it has really broadened their worldview. There's not just one thing possible, right? So even being aware of honoring differences. My kids can go to PA, where my husband's family is from, and experience, a more relaxed, family gathering. And we can go to Spain, like we do, frequently, and then meet with my whole family there, and then experience the craziness, like I say, the loud people, and then our gatherings are there's music playing, and we're bullying each other. Like that's what my kid says. It's like, you guys are bullies, and I'm like, yeah, in the U.S. culture you would see it like that. In the Latin culture, is not at all. I know it sounds so weird, but joking and pointing out the bad things in each other in a jokey way, it is a form of love. Maybe not healthy, I get it, but it's cultural. So they see that, or my mom making comments of, that in the US would be like a no-no, like making comments of our bodies, or which are still a no-no, but it's so hard to take it out from what's cultural and a pattern. That doesn't mean it's a good pattern, hey, but it's experiencing these different things and learning how to deal with them and how to um, go through them and how to even advocate for yourself through both cultures is being interesting, I think, for my kids. So I mean, it comes with good and bad, right? We can talk about the challenges of bicultural parenting as well, but um I think is good, and also for them not to feel that they have to be stuck between both worlds, or choose one of the two. Is that opening of, this is where I come from, and I'm more than just one culture.
And they also, these are their relatives, right? So they love these two different, different families. They are of both of these families, right? And when you feel that you are of something, there's an attachment already,
Yeah.
right? So the the loud, vibrant, music loving, bullying Latin side, right? And the more staid, wait your turn, or quieter conversations around the dinner table, and all that represents, right? Your girls are both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
They are of both of those things.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a joy, that's exciting, and um, but dude, let's hear about some of the challenges. Like, what are some of the things that you've been through and or your kids have been through? um, I remember speaking with you about, we were at an event together, and there was another Spanish speaking couple, or it was a bicultural couple. I think he was Spanish speaking and she was not. Am I remembering this correctly?
Mm-hmm.
And the topic of whether the kids were fluent or how fluent they were in Spanish
Oh.
came up.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked you if your girls were fluent in Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not. Am I remembering that correctly?
So one is and one is not.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So one wasn't. And then all of a sudden, with the trips to Spain, there was like a switch. Something happened, and she started talking. She figured, like, I better learn to even communicate with other family members. And then, this is funny, but listening to music in Spanish, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bad Bunny. She's a teenager, so that's a singer that is very famous now, and in English and Spanish for teenagers. So she started listening to that, very inappropriate lyrics, but hey, it helped with the Spanish, so bring it on.
She can curse and say crude
Hey,
things in
She could
Spanish.
probably say all the words that you don't want to teach your child in Spanish.
I'm picking my battles. Then we can have the conversation about how not to use those words outside of that, singing those songs, but it's fine.
So what did the conversations, Maria, look like when the girls are born? I mean, Spanish is your first language, so was it a situation of like, I'm going to talk to the kids in Spanish and my husband's going to talk to them in English? Because I've heard that ideology before.
Yeah, we tried, but then I found myself talking to them in English as well. So I didn't do that really. Even though I wanted to, I found it hard. But even when they were growing up, there were words that they didn't know in English. So they would go to childcare and talk about oatmeal, for example. We always talk about oatmeal at home with the name in Spanish. So they would go to daycare, and they would ask for oatmeal in Spanish. And the teachers would be like, what? Or like a ponytail. That was another one that they will only say in Spanish. So there were words that they didn't know how to say in English. So it came that, that then they were saying it, all the other kids is like, what is that? And then they would come home, Mom, nobody knows what avena is. And I'm like, I know, sweetheart, because that's the word in Spanish. So sorry. Here's the one in English. But it did, with my oldest one, it did bring a delay in speaking,
I
right?
was going to ask that,
Yeah.
right? Because you're like learning two languages at
Mhm.
once, and so trying to
Mhm.
make that compute. That's
Yeah.
a common issue for
Yeah.
Mhm.
bilingual kids. And in fact, it's like I think years ago, um, and this teachers used to, this is like lots of years, generations ago, teachers of like immigrant families, American teachers of immigrant families used to say, don't speak your native language at home so that your kid can progress in school. Like, how horrible is that?
Oh,
Mhm.
oh, I don't like
Right?
that.
How horrible is that? And thank goodness we've moved.
We've evolved from that. My goodness, that sounds awful and like really degrading to the home culture.
Mhm. Agreed.
So they did have delays in reading or
Mhm.
speaking. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I got really worried until we had some people from the county come to do an evaluation. They're like, "Oh, bilingual family, don't worry, it'll come." And yes, it happened that once she started talking, it was fine, but it took longer because of that confusion, probably, of what am I learning. But back to your question, yes, one speaks fluent Spanish and the other one is just not interested, and that is a good point. I presented to her as something that can be, an extra skill to have, but I don't push it either. I think if it comes, because I don't want to force her for something either. I think she's still 11. She'll probably go through seeing that speaking another language, can be beneficial. And when she hears my older one and I speaking in Spanish, she's like, I don't understand. And we're like, well, then learn it.
You can jump on that ship too if you want to.
That's kind of the approach. I don't know if it helps, um, but for me, we were talking about challenges. For me, I've had to learn as well that I need to be flexible, right? That I cannot impose my culture either, that I can bring it to the table, but in the end, is their process as well. Because it's also a lot of weight, and this is, a message for any parent out there, being the one bringing the culture to this country, let's say, or to the country that is not their native country, is how we are like that cultural translator, that bridge between where we live now and bringing our families, or trying to connect our families to where we come from, language, traditions, food, whatever it is. So being that advocate, and it's beautiful and exhausting.
It's an extra, like who wants to be the teacher all the time?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's probably pull, I would imagine, Maria, from like family and stuff too, wanting like your mom wanting the girl, her granddaughters to be more Venezuelan and Spanish speaking. And I would think you're somewhat stuck in the middle then, and then you're pulled into more of the American culture, having been here now for 25 years and your husband being American.
Yeah, and not only family members. I've encountered even friends that are still in Venezuela. My friends since I was a baby, since I was a child, sometimes making comments like, "Oh, Maria, you're so Americanized now," and I'm like, "Is that bad? Like,
How
is that
do you respond to that?
is that how do I take that?" Because it's again, it's adapting to cultures. I've had to adapt, and it wasn't an easy process. I feel that after many years I found myself now in a place where I feel that I can belong to both, but it wasn't easy. It was, you really have to work on your self-esteem as well to overcome that thought that here's the woman with the accent. Are people even going to listen to what I say just because I have an accent? Or are they gonna embrace me with all my things? Like, can they go out with me and also know that if at that place we go, they start playing Latin music. I'm standing up and dancing. Like, like it's being a journey for me to accept myself with both cultures and not thinking like I thought at the beginning that I had to erase a little bit of my Latinness so I could fit in. And
Mm-mm.
that's so sad.
I was just about when you were talking about going places and worrying, well, will people listen to me? Will people give me credence? And you said because I have an accent, uh, and I don't want to discount that. I also want to make that universal, though, because I think that all of us have those kinds of self doubts in certain situations. In where we feel like we are in the minority or minoritized, even if we're not in the numerical minority,
Mhm.
and we wonder, like, is what I bring to the table being prejudged? And we also know that how we show up in this world is so much more vibrant when we can bring our full selves to the table.
Easier said than done,
Oh
though.
yeah.
Absolutely.
What a big truth. Yes.
Have you found that as your girls have aged, that your personal identity journey has shifted?
Yes, it actually has become easier, I feel like, because I've going through my own journey as well. So, and like my oldest one came home not long ago and say, "Mom, I want to bring Venezuelan food to the classroom because it's like World Week or whatever that was. Like we're learning about different countries in the world." And of course, we went and bought things, and I ordered online, and she was so happy to bring these to her classmates that I was like, oh, it felt good. Like you feel that maybe this worked a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
for her to be able to embrace both, because it hasn't been always easy for her to realize that she can be both. It's even simple things like checking her race and ethnicity
Mm.
on forms that she has to fill out. Now that she has a job, she had to fill out a form. And one question was, are you white or Latino descent? And
Yes, the answer is yes.
well, but she could only click one. So I was like, and she was upset. She's like, Mom, I'm not one, I'm both. And I'm like, I know, sweetie, but just for the sake of this form, if they're just letting you click one, just click one. Whatever you want to click is fine. But even those things is they are starting now that she's going out into more of the real world, filling out forms, job forms. Is like, what do I click? Can I click both? I am both. So is that acceptance that she is both? And then in school, of course, her last name is Winters, and she let's talk about looks. That's another thing,
Yeah.
right? So kids are like, "You're not Latina. You're look how you look. There's no way." And she's like, "My mom is fully like my mom is not even like half and half. She's fully from South America." Um, and then this whole process of she having to convince quotation marks other
Oh jeez.
kids of who she is and where she comes from, because she either doesn't look like it or she speaks English without an accent or whatever that is, having to almost like advocate or defend her biculturalism to other people. It's being interesting and sometimes disheartening to watch.
Because people are assuming that if you are of Latin origin, there's a way you look, there's a way you talk, there are cultural markers, and if I can't observe those, then I can't put you into that category. Sorry. Like, is
And
that
why do we need to categorize in the first place? Is my question.
Not only that, Dr. Wellner, why do we need to categorize, which I get it, but in kids, like when does this really start? Because what blew my mind is like, wait a minute, this is middle school? Like I thought this was like an adult thing
Yeah,
that we learned later.
like they're just kids. Like
well, here's what I know from having worked in middle schools and elementary school and high school. There is, like, there's a strong desire for belonging, but with belonging comes exclusion. And like it's hard to belong without some people not belonging.
Mm.
And and that's and the job of teachers, by the way, is to expand the group of belonging. Like that's not the job, it's a job. But
Yeah.
so kids are developmentally looking for, like, how do I identify myself and how do I identify myself as distinct from someone else?
Mhm.
And we humans put things in categories. That's how we learn. And that's not a bug, like that's a feature. Like it helps us automate how we go through the world. The problem is when we put people in categories and we don't have the metacognition, which middle schoolers do not, to stand back and go, can I rely on this assumption, or can I rely on this category that I've created in all circumstances? Like that mindfulness that we need is something that grows with age and brain development. So that middle schoolers were indignant that your white looking half Latina daughter couldn't possibly be Latina. They were probably, does not compute. Like, I have a category for what Latin looks like, and you're not it.
Right.
And so, it's, again, you talked about it's really exhausting to have to be the teacher for your family and like to be the carrier of your culture. It's exhausting for kids to have to do the same thing, to be like, no, let me explain why this is a legit marker for me, right?
Yeah.
That's exhausting too.
And that's what she did, and that part hurt a little bit, right? Because one thing is what I carry, and then she has to carry the half of that. And
Uh-huh.
again, it's a gift. I guess, I mean, if there's a takeaway from this episode, I would say is, how this bicultural parenting is a gift, and is not a cute extra. It doesn't have to be a cute extra, but you know, it could be the emotional foundation of your kids to have those two things. And it can also come with, it can be stretching, and it can be, hard at times, and that's okay. Like almost anything in life, right? It could be great and hard at the same time. Same with this, but I wouldn't change it for anything, right? Like I love what this brings to my kids.
And I mean, I know you personally, so I can't imagine they don't love it too.
They do. On social media, how many, well, maybe you haven't seen, but there's a lot of moms out there, or posts are there. Like, if you have an American mom, they would talk this way. And if you have a Latina mom, it looks this way. So my older one always sends it to me through, through social media. She's like, look at these moms. That's so you, mom. That's exactly you. I'm like, sweetheart, it's a thing. It's not, I mean, yes, I bring my personality, but yes, there's a lot of cultural things that I can't erase from me, right? So yes, you do have the Latina mom that they stereotype on social media.
And as your kids are growing up, they're probably starting to realize like which parts of how you show up for them and in your household and in life are Maria and which parts are Venezuelan.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they're starting to be like, "Oh, I thought this was just a you thing. Turns out this this could be happening in other households too."
I'm not alone. My mom is not the only crazy one. Yes.
No, nobody's mom is the only crazy one. Let's just
No.
put that out there right now.
Agreed. Yes. That's funny. Yeah.
This
Maria,
is
any other like big takeaways that you would say for other parents that are kind of on a bicultural journey with children in the US?
Yeah, I think one aspect of it that we haven't touched is the relationship, not only the parenting, but also the relationship between the parents that are coming from two different cultural backgrounds. I do have to say that this wouldn't have been possible if my spouse would not be open, accepting, welcoming, and willing to also celebrate my culture in our home, right? Because I do have friends out there that are in bicultural marriages as well that doesn't look like that, and that's an obstacle, and that's that doesn't help with that personal journey of finding out who you really are and showing up as your true self, if in your own home this is not embraced or celebrated. And that's important. I guess it will go to the topic of boundaries, but things like, like we had a family member a long time ago, we had a birthday party in our home, and a family member from my husband's side, I was speaking in Spanish to some friends that were guests in the party as well. And I hear from the living room this person say, I think we should speak English here. And my husband very politely went to him and say, this is our home, and we speak English and Spanish, right? And we set that boundary there. But those things for me, like I never felt like I had to ask for permission to be Latina in my own home. And that's important. So the importance of bringing to the marriage also that collaboration, not only on the parenting, but on the parenting with the two cultures
Yes.
included in the mix.
Yeah. Yes. And that's like there's so much research to support the necessity of like what gifts the children receive when parents are on the same page about anything,
Yeah.
right? Whether like when parents are undermining one another, or one parent feels like they've got to pack some part of themselves up in order to make the relationship go. Kids sense that. They may not have language for it, they may not be able to put their finger on what that's about, but like there's when parents feel at ease with one another and the relationship is strong and they feel supported, like your husband going to his relative and saying, no, this is her home, and here we're bilingual here, as opposed to making you have to stick up for your own self to his relative. Like he was the right man for the job on that scenario, right? And your children see their parents endorsing each other's full scope of who they are. And whether we're talking bicultural families or anything, that's a gift. That's a gift for the kids, because they're like, okay, this is what my parents do for one another. By extension, I can be my full self. And what their job as they age is to figure out who their self is, which is a potentially messier, more complicated, and maybe more beautiful process for bicultural kids. And uh, and the fact that you and your husband are on stable ground around the bicultural component, hats off.
It
Hats
makes
off.
a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Agree.
Maria, thank you so much for being here today, for your time and for your expertise. And before we leave, I do want you to share a little bit about your professional side. Can you just share with our listeners like what you're up to, because it's pretty special?
Well, so like you mentioned, I co-host a podcast with two other health professionals. It's called Wellness Rebranded, and we talk topics there that go against diet culture, or the toxic positivity and all those things. So we say that it's redesigning, help women redesign their relationship with food, fitness, and their feelings. So we are over 148 episodes, and we're pretty proud of what we talk about there. Then, like you mentioned, I'm the creator of the Emotional Fitness Studio, which is a workshop series in Annapolis, Maryland, where local providers come share their best tips. And then it is free for the community because it is sponsored by local businesses to create community. So I always say that I love it because it's like community times four,
Yep.
because it's ran by the community, sponsored, funded by the community, for the community, to create community, because it's like an emotional gym. We're not lifting weights, but we're there every month, sometimes 3 times a month is the same space, and people can come learn things that we are not taught before, like how to manage our emotions, or how to talk about grief, or how to just come and de-stress with a yoga or a Zumba class. So that's available for anybody in our community. And then with my practice, I go around and provide workshops for corporations or institutions or schools about topics, again, that are not at the top of conversations, and they should be related to emotional health, right? So yeah. And then the rest of my time, I'm biculturalizing my kids.
Well, we are lucky to have had you for this morning. Thank you so much for your time. And we will put Maria's contact information in the show notes so that you can look up more about the amazing Maria Winters. Thank you for being here. Listeners, thank you for tuning in, for raising the next generation of world changers. We love you. We love your kids. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride called parenthood here at Parenting Shrink Wrapped. We hope today's episode gave you some useful tools and maybe even a few laughs to help you navigate the twists and turns of raising teens and kids.
Remember, parenting is a journey, not a destination. And no matter where you are on the road, we're here to help you stay on course. Whether it's monumental meltdowns, teenage turmoil, or just the everyday chaos, you don't have to travel this path alone.
So until next time, keep your seatbelt fastened, your sense of humor intact, and your eyes on the road. We'll be back soon with more compassionate conversations and practical strategies to support you and your family.
Don't forget to subscribe to Parenting Shrink Wrapped wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you've enjoyed today's show, we'd love it if you'd leave us a review and share it with a friend.
If you have suggestions for topics you'd like to see us cover in the future, feel free to send us an email at parentingshrinkwrapped@gmail.com.
Until we meet again, take care and enjoy the ride.